Morning, folks. Welcome to edition number 5 of Awesome Players Live. Right off the bat, if you're watching this on Facebook, you're probably better off jumping over to YouTube, and the link is in the description for the event just below. If not, I think Ivan's over there chatting, so he'll let you know. So let's get to it and let's introduce today's guests. Gentlemen, so we've got Ivan, Super Dave.
Good morning.
And
Morning.
Jason.
Hey.
So thanks for dragging your sorry butts out of bed on a Sunday morning to entertain both of our viewers.
Well, it's an excuse to drink
Good
beer
morning,
early
all.
in the morning.
Yes, oh, that reminds me. I'm running unboosted. Ugh.
Yes, time to boost everyone. It's that
Boost
time of
time.
day.
Jason,
Boost
I
your
know you
coffee.
think this is a crime against man and God.
I took this out.
Captain Morgan, you are scraping
this
the
is
bottom
my-
of the barrel.
This is from my wedding.
Still the same Bushmills.
Hey, you made some progress,
Sugar.
Ivan. Anybody got pancakes?
Ugh,
Cheers.
that's disgusting.
That
Cheers.
is.
What's going to be good in coffee, Jason?
The funny thing is, it doesn't even smell like booze. This smells 100% like
pretty
maple
damn
syrup. Yummy. All right. Now that everybody's boosted, who have we got with us today? I see some familiar faces. Nerb1. Ooh, Nerb is up late. Awesome Player Scotland. Hey, how you doing? We've got Carrie, Roger, Adam, regular visitors here. Pat, Roy, the Rail Sailor. Peter. Hey, Peter. Hello from Maine. We've got some of our European friends. Marcus, where it is the afternoon. From Florida. Well, we are here in beautiful Montreal, where it is kind of gray and hazy day. It's supposed to be about 12 degrees, I believe, later. And today, the plan was to talk about gear. I see we're getting a little chunky on our output here, so let me just do a quick switch back and forth here. There we go, and that should help smooth it out. Yeah, when we have these remote cameras, sometimes it gets a little lumpy. So today we're going to talk about gear. Last week we talked about tools. But on the subject of tools, Ivan, you made a little tool. Notice I didn't say you had a little tool, I said you made a little tool. I'm trying to be nice.
The latest upgrade to our toolkit is this. A bunch of us have highway dirt bikes handguards, these ones. There, here. And they have the option of what they call the big bolt. And it happens that stupid big bolt is a 3/8 Allen wrench. So you're kind of screwed when you want to readjust handlebars. You have to carry just one 3/8 Allen wrench. So I chopped one off from a 10 millimeter and machined it down to 3/8 on one end, so you can hold it with a wrench or socket or whatever, and tighten up your handlebars, your handguards.
But everybody knows the 10 millimeter socket is always lost. That's the one that's always missing. So you're
You can
still
use the 10 millimeter
screwed.
wrench.
And then on the tool front as well, everybody, I don't know if you know Wera Tools from Germany, but I got this little ratchet on my birthday, which is kind of cool. Little angled thing you can use as a screwdriver, or you can change the angle of the head. But Wera, and they have those distinctive kind of green handles, they also make the Mega Tool Yeah, baby. German engineering at its finest. So the other thing I thought I would just mention, because, reference last week's show, was McMaster Carr. So I think, Jason, you had dealt with them recently, and I think it's just, especially here in Canada, even though we are a SAE free country, in theory, it's very hard to find metric fasteners. So McMaster Carr is this great resource. And the one thing I wanted to mention, because I think we talked about McMaster Carr last time, is phone them. Because I've used McMaster Carr at work a few times where we've had to find some heat-resistant knobs to replace some stuff, and phone them up, and man, they have this massive catalog that can be a bit difficult to navigate, but you phone them and they have people on the phone, man, who are just masters, who just will find stuff that you could never find yourself in a million years. So maybe check that out. Once again, if you're over on Facebook, jump over here to YouTube. I guess we can get started. So we were going to talk about gear, and I talked to the guys just before we went live, and I think the way we were going to do it is maybe move from item to item, and everybody would just chime in. So what I wanted to start with was good old boots, because I think that's one of the number one things. Yeah. Where's my boot? Where's the boot cam?
It
The
looks
boot
very
cam.
clean. Oh.
As you can see, these were properly stored last year, cleaned, and prepped for storage. And I guess the number one thing I would say, but you guys can chime in, is if you're going to be doing any sort of off-roading, if you're not wearing a motocross style boot, you're kind of crazy. That would be my take on it. I don't know, what do you think there, Ivan?
Absolutely. I say get the best pair of boots you can afford. It's worth the investment. And I can say with confidence that it saved me, not necessarily from a broken ankle, because it broke, but I did not have any surgery to that ankle. And the doctor who checked me out and all that said because I had a proper boot and I kept it tight on me all the time when I was on it, kept everything in its place, locked there, and it didn't go out of position. So no surgery, no nuts and bolts extra into the ankles.
Yeah.
Get proper boots. If it would have been an adventure boot, it would have been another story.
And I think that's
Too soft.
kind of a. I've had those adventure boots. I had a pair of the BMW adventure boots. And
I did too. Yeah.
when you first buy them, they seem incredibly stiff, and you go, wow, these are going to be great. And then you wear them for 2 seasons, and they just turn into a slipper. So to me, there's a huge difference. I think, like Jason, what are you rocking down there? Yeah. Yeah.
So these are the City something, not the Crossfire, the Adventure or whatever. So these are adventure boots. They're basically they're pretty much the same thing as a Crossfire, just less, not as big.
Yep.
And they did not. They stayed as rigid as when I first bought them. But these boots are more for street riding with occasional off-roading, like light-ish off-roading. And I'd say that the main drawback of these is that the stitching tears. I had them restitched twice now, and they're not good for rain.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is, if you want to get a waterproof boot or not. And I think if you're doing a lot of road riding, yeah, it's awesome to have a boot that has some sort of a Gore-Tex membrane or something, so you're spending all day on the highway in the pouring rain, which is more like in a adventure touring thing. But I find for the kind of stuff we're doing a lot of the times on the weekends, where you're just heading out and you do some stream crossings, whatever, as soon as the water gets over the top, the Gore-Tex isn't helping you, and it kind of slows down the drying process in my book. Dave, you look like you're about to lose consciousness. What's your take on it?
I might have slightly overboosted this morning. So I've got the Tech 5s. Tech 5s.
Speak up a bit there, Dave.
They've had the... Sorry?
Speak up a bit.
Okay.
There you go.
Got the extra drainage hole that has been drilled in,
Nice.
which we need to get on Ivan's new ones. Yeah, these are great. These are what I wear when I'm going off road with you lot. And I've got a pair of waterproof boots as well, because I ride slightly differently to the rest of the guys, i.e. worse. And but my bike actually is a daily rider to and from work as well. So I have about 3 or 4 pairs of boots. But these are the ones that I use for the off-road stuff, and they're brilliant. Love them.
Yeah. And I think, getting into a specific brand or whatever, I think you'll see a lot of the things we're going to talk about today, a helmet, whatever, what fits me doesn't necessarily fit someone else, depend on their foot shape and their head shape. Someone here in the chat just mentioned Gore-Tex socks, and that's something I know Henrik back in the day was a huge fan of those Gore-Tex socks. So you buy any boot you want, and if it looks like it's going to be a wet day, you wear the Gore-Tex socks. I've never actually tried them, but Henrik, yeah? Jason, you've tried them? They're not too bulky?
They're as thin as a plastic bag. Maybe like the construction heavy duty garbage bags. That's about the thickness of them.
Yeah.
And I bought those that go quite high up on the calf. So I used them when I went on that long trip. And because my boots were absolutely not watertight, but this thing, they work great.
Yeah,
but
nice.
you use them you don't use them too often, otherwise I'm pretty sure that you'd wear through them quickly.
Yep. Oh, somebody's saying here we're having a little sync issue. Everybody seems to be translated to English. Well, you do know we are in Quebec, so this is being translated into English. So that's why the lip sync is slightly off.
Is it to English to French and then back to English?
Yes.
Yeah.
So boot-wise, I would just say, if there's the one take-home, it is get the real deal. And a lot of people I know, and I've had this conversation with people, is they go to the dealership, they put on motocross-style boots for the first time, and they go, I'll never be able to ride in these. If you've been wearing street boots your whole career, you go, I'll never be able to shift, I'll never be able to walk, I'll never be able to do anything. Man, once you get used to them, you realize you don't have to get your whole boot under the shifter to shift, for one thing. You can just use the side of the boot. And even the walking, once they get broken in, man, I have gone on some long walks wearing those boots, trying to figure out how to get out of some crap hole. So I would just say give them a chance. Yeah, and once you get used to wearing them, I had a pair of City Sympatex on-roads. I actually gave them to a friend because every time I wore them, I felt so unprotected, I couldn't wear them anymore. I actually gave them away. I even tried to wear them on a track day on pavement, and I said screw it, and I wore my motocross boots because I just felt like I was wearing slippers. So it was no good. To avoid water flowing over the top of the boot, I bought some elastic socks. WD-40 on the boot.
I had a pair of Gore-Tex boots, and I did not get on with them at all. It was because some of the stuff we were going through, like at the pipes, the depth of the water there, 2 or 3 feet, 2 feet deep or so. Water, just clearly, once your feet were wet, they're wet. But the problem is those boots took days to dry out. And you end up with a boot dryer, you end up knocking holes in them, and really the waterproof was a waste of time for me.
Yep.
I'd just rather something I can drill holes in the bottom of and just let the water flow out.
And Dave, you mentioned the boot dryer, and obviously if you're going on a trip where you're carrying all your own camping stuff, you're not going to probably be bringing a boot dryer. But when we do trips where we bring the truck or vehicles, man, we bring boot dryers, and man, there's nothing better than at the end of the day of throwing your boots on those things for an hour or so and starting with dry boots. And it also cuts down on the creatures living in there. If your boots stay wet for a week, that's when the stuff gets a toehold, no pun, and starts growing. So if you can get them on the boot dryer and dry them out the same day, especially if you've got swampage and beaver crap and everything else in there, Because I've had a runaway boot where something grew in there, and I tried bleach and everything else to try and kill it. And the only thing that worked was buying the Fiesta pack of Febreze and just filling the boots. Took the caps off the Febreze and just filled them, sloshed it around. And I don't know what's in Febreze. It's scary stuff because it crawled in there and killed whatever was living in there that even bleach didn't kill. So maybe don't spray it on your
You should
kid.
try that Coureur des Bois.
Yes. Well, I'm sure the Coureur de Bois, which is like 40% sugar, would have helped. All right, so why don't we jump from one end of the body to the other and go to the old helmet. Ay, caramba. Same thing here, the helmet. I mean, what fits your head is not necessarily going to fit my head, but I will say the vast majority of us are wearing this helmet, which is the AT950, Scorpion AT950, and it's a flip, and it's a little on the heavy side, but the flip is good, the visor's good, and it's got the flip down internal visor, and a lot of the times these are total garbage. This one is actually optically pretty nice. And it is nice if you wear prescription glasses to not have to bring sunglasses and regular glasses. You can just flip it down, and because you're not carrying two pairs of glasses, so that's nice. And I think, the other choice is, do you want a motocross style helmet that you're going to wear with goggles? Because I think, Jason, that's what you rock, right?
Yeah. I have. What do I have now? I have the Liat helmet at the moment, and I just, even when I wear a full face, I always have the lid up. So I like the wind on my face. I'm wearing. I don't use the goggles unless I'm following you guys in dirt.
Yep.
So I just use. I have a I have a pair of Oakleys. I think it's the 5th time I buy them. They just fit perfectly in my face for a helmet, so it seals up my eyes nicely. But otherwise, I will say one thing though. Last year, because all my helmets needed to be replaced at the same time, and I bought for the first time in I think 10 years an actual road helmet, and I was amazed at how quiet they are compared to a motocross helmet. A motocross helmet is just noise everywhere.
Yep.
And you put an actual, a good quality helmet on, and the noise reduction is like incredible. So that's definitely now that's a. If I'm not going off-roading, I now use the road helmet just because of that.
And the
the
Scorpion 950 is pretty quiet. Like, I used to have an actual motocross helmet, and yeah, it was incredibly loud on the highway. But the 950 is decent. I gotta say, it's decently quiet. And Dave, you do quite a bit of commuting, so you wear yours on the highway a lot more probably than I do.
I used to have two helmets, one for the off-road stuff, for the rally adventure stuff, and one for going to and from work. Now I just have the one because it's so versatile. This is the second one. I did break the first one, but I do love the sun visor. I don't get on with goggles. I know Jason likes goggles. I don't get on with goggles. So when I'm doing the rallies and things, I tend to wear these Boller safety glasses, which allows me to keep the visor open all the time. Useful. But yeah, I like the helmet. I really do. I think the less said about this, the better.
And I know I know you were pointing at the Senna there because you're a big fan of Senna, and they're paying you to be their spokesperson. A little backstory there. Senna is coming out with their new model, and for those of us who've been on the Senna bandwagon, every time a new model comes out, we go, maybe we should buy it, because there's no way Senna could possibly release another half-cooked piece of junk with features that don't work. So I actually sent them a note saying I would love if you could send us a set to test, and they responded. I don't know if they Googled our Facebook comments, but anyways, I got a very nice response saying no.
No.
I think
Somewhere
we could
in the
do-
Senate
we could do
customer
an-
service
we could do an
office.
entire-
There's 4
We could do it
pictures.
inside.
It looks exactly like this screen with a big X through it. Do not send these guys demo units. Anyways, so helmets. I also have a problem with goggles because I do perspire slightly, and I find the goggles just get too fogged up and whatever. So I like to just, like Jason was saying, if I'm not eating dust, I really like just having a pair of sunglasses on or glasses with the visor up. And the other thing I'll say about the flip helmet is if you want to do photography and you want to shoot video, it's so nice to be able to flip it up and take it and operate your camera. And it's also great when you stop and you got to pull someone or start exercising and, recovering a vehicle that's stuck. You flip that chin bar up, the whole body temperature thing just drops like dramatically because you're not huffing that same air over and over again. So it's really nice to have the flip. Safety wise, I think they're relatively safe.
There was a question that scrolled by on the thing there about what you wear around your neck on the helmet. So I wear these like tube sock things. Yeah, super thin. And a scroll wear around my neck. It's thin enough to actually, there you go, stick it up under the helmet as well, covers your mouth, keeps you warm when it's like still 2 or 3 degrees outside riding to work. So this is absolutely perfect, and it's small, and it's
I have a Honda one that I got for free at a rally. So this is the same as a KTM or Husqvarna one. It just makes a little less power, a little more reliable. But they all work. So
it's important to note these are not medical grade.
No, these are not medical grade. If you soak it
Even
in
if you double
Bushmills, it's good.
Okay, I'm set then.
Someone also mentioned the Gore-Tex. I think it was Carrie. The Gore-Tex, the heat factor, and that's my issue with Gore-Tex boots and Gore-Tex shoes or whatever, is I just find them super sweaty. Like, it lets the vapor out, but it's not the same as just a leather boot or something. So I don't know, anybody got any other thoughts on slippers, booties? Oh, Jason, he's wiggling his
I
digit.
just want to point out maybe the obvious, but an actual motocross helmet flows air like crazy compared to anything else.
Yep.
So when you're actually working up a sweat, like going through tracks, whatever, the difference is amazing, which is the reason why I always wear one. It's not so much just it doesn't compare.
No, and someone also mentioned it's nice if you're the kind of person who doesn't like using a Camelback with a hose. It makes drinking a lot easier, makes dealing with going through border crossings a lot easier. You don't have to take your helmet off. So there's quite a few perks. And I think on some of them now, in the old days, if it had a chin bar that moved, it was considered by the safety standards an open face helmet. But now I think they pass the same tests as a regular full face. And on a lot of the first gen ones, the locking pins and things were plastic. Now I notice, like on these ones, on the Scorpions, they're metal. So it's solid. I'm sure it's probably not as solid as a one-piece cast chin bar, but you're riding a motorcycle, so you must have some tolerance for risk.
On the same parallel topic with the goggles and all that, most of us, only Jason doesn't wear prescription glasses. Also, maybe he should. Sometimes we're wondering.
Hey.
But I get along pretty well with goggles, glasses, and all that. But the most recent thing that I've found is that it works well is when goggles fog up because it's too cold in the morning or it's raining or whatever. Is safety glasses like Dave was mentioning. Yep. But also, what I'm recently found is you have to go shop at a forestry provider or whatever, like Castile, or mesh safety glasses for people who work in the forest with chainsaws and all that.
Yep.
So you wear those when you're in the rain and you have an open face helmet. So it'll break up the rain droplets as you ride, and you don't get have the problem of fogged up goggles or the visors or things like that.
Yeah, I've seen
So
that.
that is going into my other thing. Yeah. The
I've
guys who
always
ride
wanted
in
to try that.
Enduro
Yeah.
use them. It's to have a mesh goggles or mesh safety glasses to break up the water droplets while you're riding in the rain, so you can keep riding, because no matter what, it's always a pain in the butt.
Yep. And of course, if you're lonely, I recommend beer goggles. Those are very effective on Friday nights. Moving on. Let's like I've just got my jacket here, so why don't we talk about that? Because a lot of the times, if we're just going onto the trail, I'll wear just motocross jersey, but jackets. And the one thing I would say about jackets to me that is key in the summer, and I love. Let me just get that camera going here. Hold on. Doink. These full-length arm zips. This is a BMW Santiago that I bought used, and I wore this on a week-long trip in Costa Rica, and it was hot and humid, and as soon as you got moving 50, 60 kilometers an hour, especially on an unfaired motorcycle, unbelievable. You just dried out, the wind blowing through there. That to me, on a jacket, because we mainly ride here in the summer, is the ventilation. And some of these things, like I know people who've bought the Joe, who you might have seen in some of our earlier videos, him and his wife, I think it was his wife and some of the people they ride with, bought the Ruka stuff, which was super expensive. And it had tiny little vents and just didn't work here in the summertime. You were dying. A black garbage bag, and on a faired motorcycle, these little vents aren't getting any wind anyways. So for me, I would not consider any jacket, and I tend to maybe overheat more than the average bear. Those full-length arm zips, it's just amazing. Like for me, in a jacket, I love those. I love those things. And Dave, you're a commuter, so you're running kind of full season, hot, cold, wet. What are you running?
I've got 3 jackets. I've got the Revit. I don't know what the hell it is actually. Some things summer jacket. It just blows air like crazy. It's fantastic. The other one I wear is a Boulder, BMW Boulder, which I really, really like. It's my go-to jacket. It's the one I wear nearly all the time. It's not got that great ventilation on it, but for 6 o'clock in the morning riding to work, it's awesome. And the other one that's hanging in the back of the bike there.
Your sound's breaking up a bit. I think you got to scooch a little closer to your mic. Yeah, there you go.
Okay. So the Boulder is a great jacket. The other one that's hanging on the back of the bike there is the Revit Sand 3, which I bought as a whole set. It replaced the BMW rally gear that I had. I did not like BMW rally gear. It was excruciatingly heavy. I found none of the protection actually fit me, my very odd-shaped body, especially the knees. The knee pads were terrible. So I had to get rid of it, moved it on, and I bought the Revit Sand at half the price, and it's really, really cool. It's a hell of a lot like that. It's really nice gear. I like the Revit stuff.
Nice. And didn't you win a jacket? Where's that jacket you won?
I did. It was the Dayglow Triumph adventure jacket. I sold it to a guy at work who owned a Triumph.
Yeah, cool. And maybe before we get to Jason, who's going to have a different perspective, Ivan, you're a Klim Climb fanboy, aren't you?
Yeah, people think I am, but there's a bit of a story behind that, in a sense that I don't pay for anything full price. So I have Climb gear. It's only because I have a very good friend who is sponsored, and we wear the same size, and I buy at a very reduced price. So that's why I have Climb Gear Klim or Climb Gear whatever. So, but I do like the stuff a lot because they make good stuff. It's tough as nails, and I stick to their Dakar line of gear, or they have the more vented summer gear, which is called the Mojave, because it's relatively cheap and it's super robust. And also their pants are the only model that they make an over the boot or in the boot motocross style pant, but not motocross because it has pockets.
Yes.
So that's the most practical part of it. It's water resistant, not waterproof. Relatively affordable. When you can get it at a good discount, it's totally worth it. So yeah, and I haven't used much of the. I have a more for 3-season jacket that I wear early spring or late fall. But that in the summer, it's just a jersey, the Climb jacket, and away we go.
Yeah, and I think the nice thing with I have the Climb pants. I have the Dakars, which I wear when it's cooler out, and then I have the Mojaves, which is kind of the same cut but way more ventilated. And the same thing, they have some actual pockets, which is nice, and the material is tough. Like that's what I like about those pants. I find them pretty solid. But I'm only doing the kind of Sunday morning rides and the occasional rally. So for someone like you, Jason, when you took off for a year and you're starting, I guess the extremes of weather you're going to go through are a little wider. Like when you're leaving on a Sunday morning, I can look at the weather and decide it's going to be scorching hot, motocross jersey, here I go. Oh, it's May 25th. I'll wear my old Aerostitch jacket with armor underneath it and stay toasty. So what do you do when you're going to Tierra del Fuego?
Well, first of all, you buy 2 suits. First one was what was it? The BMW Rally, I think. And wear it once. Absolutely despise that. That one has a separate liner for the Gore-Tex.
Yep.
And that just doesn't work for me. It takes up space in the luggage, and that's a game. That's a deal breaker. So I ended up selling that one, and I got the Climb last minute before the trip. The selling point for me of the Climb was it's a layering system. So it's an outer shell, and then you put whatever on, you stuff whatever you need underneath it, which was great because basically I went from the weather extremes were sunny to snow, and also from, I think it was -10 the coldest, and the hottest was 56 Celsius or 130 or something.
Yep.
No, 110, right? I don't know. Anyway, really hot. And so I needed something that was modular, where you can adapt a lot. And Climb was pretty much the only one that, I don't know. I think I just drank the marketing crap. I am extremely unsatisfied with one aspect. So at the time, that was in 2013 that I bought the Climb suit, and that was, I think, like 15 or 1,800 bucks Canadian. And one of the big selling points is that this thing is waterproof. No, it's not. Well, not for me anyway. It has nice vented, not as great as the BMW jacket. That one really had nice long zippers along the arms, and that was actually awesome for the airflow. And the Climb went with an intermediate solution, and the water just went right through it. But I only noticed this once I was on the trip when I had some proper rain. So whenever it would rain, I'd freeze my ass off because of that jacket. And now, and also the Gore-Tex warranty on it that says lifetime. It's not really lifetime. It's as long as the garment looks like pretty much new. As soon as it's worn out, they say, oh, it's past its lifetime. So when I came back from that trip, it was a year's worth of use. I basically got told, nah, don't bother us. So that's, I'm pretty bitter about that. Actually, no, I'm turned off against Gore-Tex as in general. I've never. No, I had one pair of boots from Dainese, I think that was awesome. Otherwise, I've never had Gore-Tex that actually worked for me. There's either condensation that forms underneath, or it's too hot, or it's always
Yep.
cold. So, and the price difference is insane.
It's huge.
So for a long trip, you definitely want something that's very versatile. So in that aspect, so if you take away the waterproofness aspect of that climb suit, everything else was awesome. It's
Yeah.
not too heavy. It's not really light. It's not too heavy. It flows a ton of air. The pants have nice cargo pockets in it, which is
Mhm.
always awesome. And anything else to say about that? Not
And
really.
here, Ligurien was just saying he would love to try the new Moscow Moto stuff, because now they're selling clothes, and if it's anything like their luggage, it must be nice. But I don't know what the price point on that is. But all of those kind of top level suits, the pricing is scary. And like Dave was saying about the BMW thing, and Jason mentioned it, I know Chris had a Rally Pro. You took that Rally Pro jacket with the liner and the armor in it. It weighed, I don't know what, like 20 pounds. It was
Especially wet.
insane. Yeah, and the thing is, when you have the Gore-Tex liner on the inside, the outer shell just gets saturated when it's pouring rain and weighs a ton. And now that whole outer shell is wet, which means it's not doing anything in terms of keeping you cool. And also, even if the Gore-Tex on the inside is breathable, the totally saturated wet outer layer is not exactly breathing super well at that point either, you know? So I think, oh yeah, Jason?
One point, I had read this, but I had never experienced it, and then eventually I got to specifically try it out. It's when it's really hot. I had read that it's better to actually wear a jacket than have nothing. Like, for example, a mesh jacket versus a mesh jacket, because when you're riding and it's really hot, your sweat evaporates as soon as it forms on the skin, and it prevents it from actually doing its job of cooling you down.
Yep.
So I was in Death Valley one day, and that's when it was like 56 degrees Celsius, and I was in the climb suit. It was hot, you know. I felt like that. Okay, but it was quite bearable, not a problem. And then I got to camp. I dropped the suit and I went to the local restaurant in Death Valley. That was like 5 minutes away. And I just had a T-shirt, and I thought I was going to pass out within 5 minutes. It was so hot. So yeah, that's just a little comment I wanted to say.
You know what? I did a trip years ago where I ended up going through Bonneville, right near Bonneville Salt Flats. And I was wearing, back in the day, because I wasn't doing off-road, I had a black Aerostitch, which is a laminated Gore-Tex-y kind of thing with armpit vents and a back vent. That's it. And I had the black Aerostitch jacket and pants, and I had read that same thing about the evaporation, so I stopped at a rest stop, and it was 100 degrees. I had a sweatshirt. I went into the bathroom. I soaked the sweatshirt in water, and I put the sweatshirt on underneath my black snowmobile suit kind of thing I was wearing. I got out on the highway, and at 70 miles an hour, I started getting chills. This stuff was evaporating so fast, and I would stop every 20 minutes or 30 minutes and re-wet it. It was amazing, man. And everyone else was riding along in a wife beater and a bandana, and I was head to toe in my snowmobile suit, and I was fine. So that, I think if it's dry, I think that's the other caveat. I think it works well if it's dry. I think if it was 50 degrees and humid, it might be a different dynamic. And Dave, I see you. Oh, hold on, Jace. Yeah.
So that's actually an excellent point to the humidity level, because like a month later I was in Baja, and Baja is a peninsula, right? So if you're on the west side, you're up against the ocean, and it's quite nice. It's, you know, And then at about mid-level, you switch over to the other side of the peninsula. And as you reach that midpoint, the humidity level just skyrockets. It's within 100 meters, you're going, oh, this is nice riding, to, oh my God, I'm going to die. And there's nothing I found that managed to bring down the temperature. Taking the jacket off, putting a wet scarf, nothing. It was just horrible. That actually was the worst riding experience of the whole trip, was that high temperature and humidity. No solution.
We've got some comments here. LD Comfort. You guys have never heard of LD Comfort. Don't they make underwear? I can't remember. I think I have heard the name. Someone from Borneo. Where's our Borneo friend? He asked us to say hi. Hey, Dendi, hi. A lot of people, same thing here. Adventure Andy saying, I use the BMW Rally suit and I hate that liner. I will get a Klim. The Alpenstar F4. Is that a riding suit? Klim Overland. Klim Carlsbad. Man, Klim is making a lot of money off this crew. The Moscow Moto jacket is 600 euros. Dave, how much money is that in Canadian pesos?
It's a small house.
Dave, how much is 600 euros?
I don't know. I haven't got my. I haven't travelled anywhere for a couple of months. I have no idea what the exchange rates are.
Is a euro like a US dollar or more than
Probably
a
about
US
1,000
dollar?
Canadian.
Just
Like
for the
1,000.
jacket.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yeah, it's probably about 1,000 Canadian, and then you got to ship it to the US,
Nice.
to Canada. It gets expensive. The Moscow stuff is awesome, but it gets quite expensive quite quickly.
And like Vlast is saying, it's nice, but it doesn't have any armor, which to me, for a jacket, is not the end of the world. So before we move on, anybody got? Dave, did you want to say something? You looked like you were fidgeting there.
I was just seeing what the ventage was on the sand.
Yep.
You get these little nice vents at the back, which I have opened up, and the full sleeve vents as well.
Yeah, which
So
is,
you
I
do
love
actually
those.
get quite a lot of
full
vintage on.
sleeve
I really quite like this jacket, to be honest. It's way nicer than the BMW one.
vents. The nice thing with the BMW stuff, it's very easy to sell.
It is.
You do order it and you don't like it.
And that's the Boulder one, which I really enjoy every day. So somebody said, that's not a Boulder jacket, that's a Revit jacket. Well, it's just hanging on the back. There it is.
And you know what? The BMW stuff on the flea market on Adventure Rider, I like that Santiago jacket. So I bought two of them. I got one for $150, basically brand new, and I got the other one for $175 with the Gore-Tex liner with the tags on it. So the nice thing with some of this high-end clothes is there are deals to be had. So let's move on to the next thing, which a lot of us wear, which is some sort of a pressure suit. And by pressure suit, I mean, you know, let me just switch over here. A pressure suit, some sort of an armored little outfit that has all the sewn in shoulder pads, elbow pads. This one is by EVS and I don't like it, but it's what I'm wearing. It has the integrated back protector. One of the things I don't like is the back protector is quite short, which I'm not a huge fan of. I had another one, 661. They stopped making it, so I bought this one because it was whatever, but I'm in the market for something new. But this is what I would say most of us wear when we actually go off-road riding. So it's kind of a mesh spandexy shirt with all the pads sewn in. So you could put this on and wear a motocross jersey over top of it, or a jacket. So I'll even my BMW jacket, I'll take the pads out and then I can wear just that. And I have crashed in it once, 180 times, and it works well. You know, I've had pretty much every type of fall, from the little tip overs, little shoot off the edge of the trail, and a full sliding down the highway with a pressure suit on, and I much prefer it to, separate elbow pads and shoulder pads and all that kind of get up. So I think for the kind of riding we do, the kind of weekend warrior stuff, it's nice. I don't know, like Jason, when you went on your trip, were you wearing a pressure suit or just the stuff in the jacket?
So I was just wearing the Climb with its integrated armor, and Bruno, who had joined me for a few months, he brought a compression suit.
Yeah.
I think it was the Thor one he brought. Yeah, he looked like he was heating a lot because he had my BMW rally jacket on.
Over top of the pressure suit?
Yeah. But he did fall down a few times and never hurt himself. So that's worth what it's worth. But I don't know. I think it's just preference, like what makes you feel safe or comfortable. These jackets, like the Climb thing. I had my Climb when I crashed at about 70 kilometers an hour and broke ribs and shit. It was fine. It's like the obviously having a hard shell would be nicer than the D3O stuff, but I guess the compression one for me is more comfort because often you guys wear jerseys over it. I often don't even wear it. Actually, that was a question. Is like, why do you wear jerseys over it? Is it just for looks, or does it do something?
Hide my gut.
Because I find
it's
that
the embarrassing
every
stretch of elastic across your guts. Really embarrassing stretch of elastic across your guts. So the jersey, you're wearing it for looks.
Okay,
yeah.
Well that's fine because it's just that I've been trying to whenever we go out, we ride for about 5 minutes and then we spend 2 hours trying to get out of a mud pit, and that 2 hours getting out of a mud pit is where we sweat and a lot. So I find that the compression suit plus the jersey is like, it'd be nice to have like a third of that. So,
yeah.
But I don't really. Whatever you feel comfortable with is what I think is what you should go with.
And the nice thing is, like, I've been on rides, like Mark was wearing, I think, a Climb suit as well, and then he gets super hot in one of those situations, so he takes his jacket off. And now you got no protection, and you're trying to ride up a little hill or do something, because you're not going to put it on and off 86 times in this little spot. So we've even had people comment in our videos like, hey, why is that guy now riding with no protection on? Well, because he got super hot and he took his jacket off and all of his armor, which is kind of not a winning combination. And Ivan, Dave's typing away. Ivan, you went and got your pressure suit.
Yeah, I don't know if it's considered a pressure suit, but more like a complete armor. So it's anyways, that's what I wear. It took me a while to get used to this. It's the same thing with like the motocross boots. My first jacket was a First Gear brand. I like it a lot. I still have it. It had the D3O armor in it and all that. And it's just so easy. You put it on and away you go. And I had this, and I try it on, and it took me 45 minutes to get dressed because there's a bunch of straps and things like that, and then you got to put the jersey over. You get tangled in it. But now I almost exclusively ride with the body armor, a jersey, and then I put my Climb Dakar jacket over, which has provisions for pads, but has nothing in it. It's just the shell, and that's all. So I get too hot, I take the jacket off. I can strap it onto my bike, which has never happened because it has awesome venting so far. And then I ride just with the jersey and the pads underneath. And even if I go on a 2 or 3 day trip camping, the bike, I'll wear that. I don't wear the other jacket with the integrated pads in it. It's just a habit of getting used to it and all that, and I prefer that right now. If I'd go on a longer trip like Jason did, I'd probably go with the Klein style of
Integrated.
BMW style jacket, integrated everything. You know, it does everything. But for the weekend warriors that we are riding out, and up to a week, I'd probably just wear the body armor, all the separate parts, and go with that.
And a few people
I
are
just felt
asking,
better.
Ivan, that is the Liat, right? Is that the 5.5?
Yeah, it's the 5.5. I bought it like, I've had it for like 5 years now. Yeah.
Yeah. And some
And
people
that-
were commenting about the jackets, the jerseys, like it keeps your, like Nerve One was saying, it stops your gear from getting muddy. If you have the real open style pressure suit where you have bare skin, it does protect you from the branches and the bugs. And when I went to Costa Rica, my cousin Charles was with me, and he wore his pressure suit, and he took his jersey off at one point to get a little more air, and he got the most bizarre sunburn because his pressure suit had these holes in it. So at the end of the day, he took it off, and he had all of these red dots in a grid pattern burned on his body. So we went to the pool, and everybody thought he had like some sort of German plague, where all of the measles dots are perfectly lined up in Teutonic order. So yeah, definitely the jersey does have some application. Someone asked, what jersey does Chris wear? A smelly one. I don't know. Chris wears, I think it's a Climb.
It's a
Climb Dakar.
Yeah, it's a Climb Dakar.
He doesn't wear any anymore. He doesn't ride.
Well, I
No,
think
he doesn't ride anymore.
he uses it when he's changing diapers or groveling
Mowing
or
the
whatever
lawn.
else he does in his leisure time these days. Dave, before we move on, anything else on jackets, British cuisine,
No,
food wrapped in newspapers,
Boy.
any of the other areas
just
of
boiling
expertise?
for 4 hours.
All right, let's.
You're a cruel man. You're a cruel man.
I didn't say British cuisine
to
was
make my
bad.
coffee.
I just said you were an expert.
What a douchebag.
Yes, DBMF. Gloves.
DBMF.
Let's talk about gloves.
Oh,
I know
Oh,
for
I need to leave now.
yeah, you got to hit the road soon, eh, Dave?
Yeah,
Glovey
I'm gonna hit
gloves.
the road. So it's been.
I am
fun.
wearing. You're hitting the
I
road,
shall
Dave.
watch the. I shall watch. I am hitting the road. I'll watch the rest of this later. So
All right, let me
enjoy
just get
yourself,
rid of.
guys.
Let me get rid of Dave. All right, Dave. Thanks for chiming in. Ciao.
Cheers. Bye.
All right, and then
Ciao.
there were three. Oh no, let me modify that. It's
where
supposed
did
to
Jason go?
be Jason. Hold on, Jason. You didn't show up on time, Jason, so I wasn't sure you were going to make it. So I created a three-way split. So let me just modify that and make it
While you fix that, I'll
Jason.
go have a coffee.
All right, go get a coffee.
Yeah.
Where is Jason?
Fred,
Jason,
the
Jason.
coffee maker is my just my jet boil because the garage is
There we go.
the garage is 100 feet from the house, so the kitchen's a bit far away. So I bring everything to make coffee in the garage.
I once again set an Alexa timer at 10:30 so that one of my children would bring me another coffee. System works excellent.
Didn't work, huh? It's 11.
No, I did. This is a fresh coffee.
Oh, it didn't. Okay.
Yes. It was
didn't
seamlessly
see
done
the,
off camera.
The hostess
Yes.
walk in.
Well, while Jason is off, what do we got going on here? Let's kill Dave's audio. Ooh, is it raining out there? I should have covered my bike. The old Ural getting moist. So, gloves. This is something, I basically have two gloves, and I've got a set that I only wear, which are these Lee Park design deerskins, which are so nice and comfy, whatever. I wear these, or I used to wear these when I did some track days, because I would not want to be sliding down on the asphalt too far wearing these, and that's actually what I wear 99% of the time. Is I've got a few different pairs of these. When I did crash on the highway and I slid, I had a similar glove to these on, and they got burned up and ended up in the garbage, but they did their job. But they certainly don't offer the greatest level of street protection. But I like them because they're relatively cheap and they're not super hot. And oddly enough, even in the cold temperatures, I wear these. If you have heated grips and you wear these, the heat gets through. I had some big BMW kind of insulated gloves. Those are okay to go tobogganing in, but they suck with heated grips because the heat doesn't get through the glove. If you wear thin gloves with heated grips and hippo hands, which cover the whole, controls and your hand guards, works amazing. So this is basically now the only pair of gloves I wear, just thin, whatever. I know some guys buy the mechanics wear gloves. I think, Ivan, isn't that what you're wearing? Yeah, which is, I think, the same thing as this, just available at Canadian Tire. Yeah.
Yeah, and same thing as the Klein. I don't buy anything full price. These things come on sale at Canadian Tire like 5 times a year. Like Father's Day is going to come up, they're going to be half price and all that. So I just buy a couple pairs and then we're good for gardening and riding.
Yep.
Well, they last like a year
I
or
do.
two, so they're
Yeah.
pretty cheap.
Which is long enough for 20. What do they go
Yeah.
on sale for? 20 something bucks?
$30. The expensive one with they actually have D3O padding in the palms and all that. So
Yep.
Michaels, and I wouldn't want to go sliding on the highway with these, but for off-roading, I find that they're fine. They do a great job. They're shitty mechanics gloves. Honestly,
Yeah.
they're junk. We used to have them on the rally service teams and all that. We tried them out. They last one event, you chuck them in the garbage. They're garbage for a mechanics glove, but for riding off-road, for what we do, they're perfect.
Yep. Someone here,
Gotta
Jake
check my
Buchanan,
pocket.
was just saying mechanics work, impact gloves.
Yeah, exactly those.
Someone
Jake.
said, since I discovered heated grips, I only wear thin gloves. It doesn't snow here, but Nerb, who's from Australia, one of the things I found when I got my first bike that had heated grips is you're not only using the heated grips when it's 5 degrees outside. You tend to use them a lot more than you think when it's even warmer than that. Let's keep digging through here. Touchscreen compatible gloves. These work. These Klim ones work with my phone. So I don't know if they're
mechanics too.
designed that way, but they do work.
These do
I use
also.
I use motocross gloves, and they work. Well, these are now mechanics gloves, but
Mhm. Yeah. We got Moritz from Germany. We got a lot of people watching from Germany. Carrie said goodbye to Dave. Jeff, Canada. I didn't see the Boulder jacket. Anyone else wear neck braces? Yes, I own a neck brace. It's hanging in the furnace room with the rest of my gear. I did wear it for a while. I don't know why I stopped, actually. I think part of it was it kept hitting the intercom buttons and triggering the intercom every time I turned my head. What, Jason, you're not a neck brace person.
no,
I think
mainly because I always find something else to put $400 on instead of the
Mhm.
neck brace, and also from the very little that I read about them, the statistics about it are ambiguous, or whether or not they are actually of any use. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I know Chris
Maybe,
and I
maybe
wore
actually, if we were doing more motocross
Yeah.
track, then I'd get
Yeah.
one, because you're jumping all the time, and yeah, that I think would make sense. But for our kind of riding, not really. But
Yeah,
likes
Chris
them.
and I got into wearing them one season. I just because I was looking at some of the old videos, and then I did see it hanging in there, and I don't know why I just stopped wearing it. I think there was a huge craze at one point where everybody and their brother was buying neck braces, and like you, I did some reading too, and there was no comprehensive research that I found. And if somebody has some research, send me an email. I'd love to see it. So you can send an email to us at info, at APORMC, Awesome Players Off-Road Motorcycle Club, APORMC.com. And the stuff I read, there was no like study saying 10,000 people with it, 10,000 people without it. The 10,000 who never wore it are all in wheelchairs, drinking through a straw, and the other guys are all doing the tango. So it'd be interesting to see.
From the rally world, where we mandated the neck brace for rally cars way back and all that, and it's the way I see it also is the effectivity of how it can be for a rider versus a car. The car, we're tethered to the back seat, we're belted in, we're not going anywhere, so it works well and it's mandated everywhere. But in the racing for bike world, I think it's the only place where it's not one of the pieces of gear that's not mandated to wear, because of that exact fact is that the studies are not very conclusive that the neck braces are actually effective. Like you go to an FIM event, the car and all that, if you want to wear it, you can wear it, but they don't mandate it. So because
I think they're going to mandate though the inflatable stuff is hitting a lot of the motorcycling world, and that's something that if I really was going to spend $300-400 on a neck brace, I think I'd rather spend $700 or $800 or something on an inflatable. And I've seen some of those demoed at the motorcycle show, and that to me would be nice. You know, especially if I was doing track days or something with, you know, high speeds and whatever, that would make way more sense to me than the neck brace, the full Michelin Man suit. We got a few questions here coming up about, someone asked about knee braces, which we'll certainly talk about. Someone asked why, yes, someone commented, who's the guy talking about neck braces when it says vegetable on his t-shirt? It's Vegetable Police. And Vegetable Police, it's actually a guy who runs a YouTube channel called Camera Conspiracies, where he just talks about video and still cameras. And that's a channel I follow, Camera Conspiracies, which is really well done. It's a guy out of Toronto. But he has a second channel about nutrition, which I do not follow, obviously. And that channel's called The Vegetable Police. So I bought one of his t-shirts. Someone like Peter's saying here, the inflatable vests are really hot. That's something too. I'm wondering if you're wearing like a life jacket, it might be a bit. Like Ligurien is saying here that the airbag stuff is going to end up in the Dakar. They're probably going to mandate that, because I think they're already mandating it for like Grand Prix motorcycle racing. Someone asked, what do you do about riding with people who don't want to wear the right gear? What do you say here? This is Tony. What do you say? Tell your riding mates that do not wear gear when riding. I don't think we really ride with that many idiots, do we? I mean, not all of us are the brightest bulbs, but we're smart enough to wear protective gear.
I think
I don't go as far as just to inform them that it's a bad idea, but they want to do it. They're bones.
Yeah. We don't see that many Harleys on the trail.
But most of the people we've ridden with that had very little gear and all that were people that were starting out. So they come along, you know, they've just got their bikes and their basic gear to go riding, and they haven't just, not that they don't want to ride with it. They, first of all, it's hard to find out what you want to buy. It's still expensive, and what do I buy? And then after that, you know, they're just building up on their gear and figuring out what they want and all that. So it's not that they don't want, they just haven't got it yet. But most people ride at least with half decent gear.
And the thing I'd say is, all of us, I mean, I don't know if you guys, I have a whack of older duplicate gear, whatever. So one of my cousins started riding out in British Columbia, and he came to Montreal to visit, and I was like, hey, what are you riding? And he bought an F650 Funduro style bike, and he's been riding mainly on the street. And I rummaged around, and I found a set of riding pants with knee protection, an armored jacket, a whole bunch of stuff, and gave it to him. Another buddy of mine who was actually riding on a Honda Shadow, he's the one I gave my old motorcycle boots to, my city on-roads. and gloves and all that stuff, because I went riding with him one day and he showed up wearing topsiders and fleece gloves and a nylon windbreaker. And we went riding, and I was just, the entire time we were riding, I was going, man, this guy falls down at 30 kilometers an hour. It's going to cost me a fortune in hospital parking to visit him. So I better help him out, because it's like $25 a day to park at the hospital. And skin grafts take a long time. So I ended up rummaging around, gave him a pair of boots, some gloves, and some other gear that I had. So my answer would be that, yeah, like Jason said, we would recommend stuff to people, and I think a lot of the time we'll just find some gear for them.
I think we're
Peter's
not
saying
very
here.
shy. We're not very shy also at just hinting that it's
Yeah.
a really bad idea for them, or some of them, some of them are, you really find out that they don't care and all that, and somebody passes a comment. I even did it at the in Arizona at the Triumph thing. It was pretty funny, and a whole bunch of people heard, including that subject person, I think, because the next day he was not allowed to ride if he didn't have his gear on. But I passed the comment as, who's the guy that's being an organ donor riding with us today and all that, and the event organizers were like, yeah, we got to settle that.
Yeah.
So you got the clue.
Organized events, you have to have the gear or they won't let you participate, for sure. And I don't think anyone we've ridden with regularly has ever had an issue. I mean, I remember way back when I had a KLR and I started riding with Henrik, and Henrik showed up, without any gear, and I just told him, not only is it about protection, but if you don't have decent gear, especially considering the weather, your riding season, if you don't have waterproof gear, warm gear, is going to be so short, it's going to suck. So if you're going to pay all this money to have a bike and license and insure it here in Quebec, got to get the good equipment so that you can at least stretch out to the maximum your riding system. Someone thought, oh, I blushed when you said inflatables. I misunderstood. No, not that inflatable. Does an inflatable one-time use, or it can be reused? It can be multiple uses, because, like I said, I was at the Montreal Motorcycle Show a few years ago. I think it was Mark or somebody in our group got to put the jacket on. The guy pulled the lanyard, it inflated, and then they tucked everything back in, screwed in a new CO2 cartridge, and it was good to go. And I think the cartridge, like the kind of refill kit, is $20 or $30. And there's new ones now. Alpenstar or somebody makes one that there's no cord. It's all logic inside the thing where it knows you're flying. The only thing I would wonder is, for if you're riding a bike on the street and you fall off, it's hopefully a relatively rare occurrence. But for us, if you're riding along and you fall and you pull that lanyard, like, how many times a year is it going to happen? I don't know. If it's,
I don't
is it
see
going to
that
happen?
really practical for off-roading.
Yeah.
I mean, a day that you don't fall 3 or 4 times is a boring day. So
Yeah, and I'm wondering maybe, and the thing is, if it's only going to trigger when it's that T-boned a car, that's not super great for us, because a lot of the times you have a slow fall and you fall backwards into the wood, man, you want to have a spine protector or something, even if you're just falling, at a walking pace and you land on that tree stump. If your vest doesn't inflate because it's not considered a big collision, you're going to be kind of unhappy. Although I think a lot of them have CE back armor that's inert. Like, it's not just depending on the inflation. The inflation seems to be more the collar and the body. I think they all have back armor, like hard back armor. So maybe. Yeah, and someone's here saying that the new Climb inflatable vest does not require a tether either. I guess that's relatively new.
hey, Riley,
Yep.
don't know if you noticed, but our club is our little sample is pretty much, our injuries are on our legs, not the upper body.
And I read something about that years ago, saying lower leg is, for off-road riding, dual sporting, is huge proportion of the injuries are lower leg. And I think when before we started wearing the big boots, I think Chris broke something in his foot. I screwed up something in my foot, which took like 6 months to heal. I think I know Joe, when he was riding with us, he had those BMW Adventure boots. He screwed up something in his foot. So certainly before we switched to the motocross boots, we had a lot of foot injuries just from the stupid big bikes falling on your foot. And I had something happen. I was riding with Chris in the Ganaraska Forest where my front of my foot hit a tree stump. I had my foot off the peg, and then the peg came up behind my foot and hit me in the heel. So the bike was trying to compress my foot, and it actually compressed the motocross boot enough that my toes were scrunched up against the toe cap, and nothing got busted. And if I'd been wearing a lesser boot,
it's exactly what happened to Mark at the first Dacre
Yep.
that I did with him and Chris. He had adventure boots. He said he was already thinking of I got to get motocross boots and all that, but he had his adventure boots. And what happened is also a bit of a habit. I guess this is a more road racing thing, is riding with your toes down on the pegs instead of having your foot flat and horizontal. So his toes were down, and the toes hit a rock. So you can imagine with the foot peg behind the boot, it just twisted his foot. We thought he had broken his foot, and that put an end to that. And then magically, a week after the Dacre, he had motocross boots.
Yeah.
And now he's trying to keep his toes up. So, it's a big difference to have the very stiff sole of the motocross boot, also for those cases where you're pinned between a rock or a stump and the foot pegs.
And this will be a nice segue into knee braces, because Mark didn't have the proper boots and screwed up his foot on the Dakar, and then came back the next time and blew out his knee. So now he wears knee braces. So I don't actually have knee braces, so I can't say too much. So Jason, I seem to remember...
They work great when you're wearing them.
That sounds like a story.
What is it now? It's 2 years ago. We
Yeah.
went to the Fundy Rally. I brought my expensive knee braces from Aesthetics. I don't know. You know, they're quite nice. They're sturdy. They even they clip. They clip to the boot so that if your foot gets caught on something, the whole leg will twist. I mean, they're awesome. They're comfortable and everything. But that day it was raining like hell, and I figured it was going to be a long, like 12-hour day. So I figured, let's go with comfort. Put the climb pants over, and the climb pants are a bit like the Badlands Pro. They fit over the knee braces, but they're a bit tight.
Yeah.
So after 12 hours, it might have been uncomfortable. I said, we'll be fine. We'll just use the in pant armor. And what was it? An hour in, maybe.
Yep.
I had a fall, and basically my knee was still screwed from it. It never came back.
No.
Mm.
And I know
But
for
other than
myself,
that,
my knees, this has been 10 years of doing this. One of my knees, I tore something one year. Don't know what it was because I never went to the doctor. But every now and then I would bend over to work on the bike, and I could feel something was getting pinched in my knee joint, and it just hurt like hell. And then eventually whatever that was fell off or dried up or whatever. But certainly the knees are vulnerable, and Mark, if you saw the video from a few weeks ago that we posted, he's got some cadaver ligaments in there now, and everything's been rebuilt. So he is now wearing knee braces. And Ivan, you weren't always wearing knee braces, though. Is that new, relatively new?
I've never. It's the same thing, as everything else. You say, okay, what gear am I going to buy and all that. And knee braces have been on my mind for ages. And after what happened to Mark, I said, yeah. And then I was lucky. It was just my ankle. But I said, okay, I'm getting knee braces this winter. So I did buy a pair of knee braces. So this season, if we ever go out riding, will be the first season I'll be riding knee braces. I'm going to pull the internal pads that are in the pants I wear, and I'll be wearing knee braces everywhere I go. So hopefully, it's not a guarantee, but it's certainly a lot better than nothing at all. So.
No, and I think
And
I was going to borrow
Mark
Dave's
lost.
knee braces for the Ottawa Valley Rally, just because Dave wasn't going to that, just to give them a tryout before I bought them, and of course it was all canceled. But was on my to-do list for this season, was to buy a set of knee braces. But I think the fit is really key. Like Jason, when you bought yours, you actually went and tried them on, didn't you? Not at an actual.
Yeah, I tried them on, but I didn't do it properly. I think because to this day I have a doubt that I might have taken one size too small. And one thing that I think is really important when you buy these braces is that they're quite tight to the body, right? And if they're uncomfortable after hours, they get really uncomfortable. So, and if they get uncomfortable after a while, they don't want to wear them. So make sure that whatever you buy are really comfortable and properly fit, because otherwise, the monkey brain at one point would say, I don't need them because they're annoying.
And I think that's probably why we stopped wearing the neck braces. When I really think about it, it was always just a pain in the butt of checking your blind spot when you stop taking the thing off. And so I think you're right. At some point you're getting dressed and that little part of your brain says, that thing is a pain in the butt. I'm just looking here at some of the comments. Someone asked, anyone use a small backpack or hip pack? Yeah, I think that that's something I think we're probably going to talk about in another episode, because I think backpacks, fanny packs, luggage, all that stuff, we'll delve into it, and that'll try to keep this episode from rolling into being another 2-hour marathon. So I think that'll probably be next week, unless Jason, we still have to do an episode where you talk about your big trip. So
right.
Maybe not next week, but maybe the week after. The stiff sole on a motocross boost is also nice when you're standing on the pegs all day, and that's also a good point.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry.
Comfortable.
I'm going to address the backpack fanny thing, because recently, as you both know, I stumbled upon a product that is absolutely my game changer. I'm gonna do the publicity for it now. So fanny packs tend to ride low on you, and they get uncomfortable. And then somebody came up with the idea of tying them together.
Yep.
How awesome is that? Never used it yet, but
the funny thing is, Jason, when I used to wear a fanny pack, I had the standard fanny pack. I actually strapped it to my backpack. I actually made little clips and I strapped it, because the problem with a fanny pack is if you have an hourglass figure, you can wear a fanny pack and it stays there. If you have a Riley figure, well, this is the widest part of your body, and that's where you want to have the fanny pack. So you either got to wear it up around your armpits or down around your knees. So right at the waist, it just doesn't work. So I actually did strap it, but that's
still no go?
Yeah. So yeah, your body shape can be a determining factor on whether or not a fanny pack is going to work for you. But yeah, I like. I have a backpack that I wear and whatever. But I think we'll talk about that on another episode. Okay, guys, I think we're gonna try and wrap this up at like an hour and a half. So if you have any last questions, get them in now.
One more piece of gear.
And then let's. Ivan, what do you got? Oh yes.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a big one.
This is. If you decide you want to get married on the trail, you should always have a veil. They veil with you. Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, if the beer goggles aren't
It serves
strong
as a
enough,
mosquito net.
yeah, mosquito net, man, it does, and that's the one that has the hoop in it, Ivan. So it actually keeps it off
Yeah.
your face. Because if you don't have a hat
So
underneath it and the net is just sitting on your face, the bugs will just bite right through it. So that is nice if you don't have a hat to wear. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it
And
goes
and-
into a little pouch. I have it always in my backpack because in the springtime, like starting about this time, maybe in a couple weeks, is just insane. I think we've posted a couple videos from the Classique, just little snippets from we're stopped on the side of the trail, and from the GoPros you can actually see all the bugs and the mosquitoes flying and zipping around us, trying to just eat us to death. So that's when we get very, very effective at pulling people out of the ditch and rolling again and moving, because you just get eaten alive.
yeah, someone here was asking, I guess this is for you, Jason. How much was that Klim backpack fanny pack combo, roughly?
I think it's like 150.
Oh man,
Ish.
for climb, that's cheap. Canadian
that's
pesos?
for both. Or was it? I forget.
Oh, Ivan's researching.
Yeah, I bought it on Fortnite, but
Yeah, Fort9 is the big vendor here in Canada for online stuff. Great return policy. Peter, your head condom comment was flagged as possible spam by the good people at YouTube who are watching out for our best interests. So, no intercom etiquette. Yes, I know. This is from Root and Ride. I had posted something in the description of the video that we were going to talk about intercom etiquette, and Dave had prepared a whole PowerPoint presentation. The snag is Dave could only be here for a short time today, so that's going to be bumped to next week, because we like to do a little center rant in every single episode. So yes, we will do communications, but we've only really had experience with the Senna, but at least we're going to just talk about how we use the communications, not how awesome Senna is, but I'm sure some of our opinions on Senna will leak out. Jason, before you got, not bike related, but how do you like your air filter that's hanging from the ceiling, and would you buy one again? Is that an air filter or a heat exchanger? That's
the air filter. So I have two. It's, this one here. So that's the collector directly for the bandsaw, the table saw, the planer.
And you got the filter.
Yeah. So that one here is for your lungs, basically.
I have the same one.
I'm currently working on this type of wood, right?
Is that
you see the
mahogany?
color? Paduk.
Oh, isn't that toxic?
Well, it's not so bad, but it does make a nice dust everywhere. You see that?
Lungs.
So basically, to answer the question whether I'd buy it again, when that thing is running, I have absolutely no dust on me. So it really works well for a small space.
Nice.
It's I don't know, 13 by 25-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really efficient. And yes, I would buy it again in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But
I have this.
This one is a Delta.
Yeah.
And if you want to replace the filters, it's like the same price as the unit. And I finally found a place from China that sells them for nothing. So
right, because it is
shop
just
around.
a bag, right?
Well, it's a bag. Yeah, it's a bag and a furnace filter. So the furnace filter you can get from Canadian Tire or whatever. But the inner bags are more difficult to find. Well, it took me a while to find it because there's there are multiple models of it, but not from Delta, but from different companies, and they all have slightly different sizes.
Nice.
So,
Vlast wants to know, Jason, if you rent your shop out.
No, tools are sacred. Get your dirty paws off of them.
Peter was asking, I want to hear about calling out obstacles, coming up with everybody's names. Okay, Peter, sorry, you'll have to wait until next week. I'm just trying to dig through here. Communications, we'll talk about that. Intercom etiquette. That crazy Pisces. Someone's got to get a Molly chest rig, because those seem like they would be nice, especially when you compare prices with the Klim vests. Yeah, I guess you could wear a flak jacket and then you could hang all your ammo pouches on the front if you want. Stop saying fanny pack. Of course, in England, fanny means something different, I believe. Although, oddly enough, before Dave started wearing, motorcycling, he did wear a fanny pack. I don't know what it was for. Could you please tell us your brand of knee brace? I think, Jason, you covered that. Yeah. Ivan, why do you have a Swiss number plate hanging in your garage? I guess you should answer that.
I actually typed it back. So where the hell did he see the Swiss number plate? That's what I'm wondering. I don't know.
Is it from one of the other videos, maybe?
Over there. Maybe. It's because I'm actually Swiss. My father is Swiss. I was born in Switzerland, and yeah, that's why. So I have a Swiss license plate in my garage.
And someone asked, how do you deal with hot spots and uncomfortable with your boots? I would say if you're having hot spots and issues with your boots, they're probably just not fitting right. And I think Peter chimed in here. The City Crossfire TAs have a very wide toe box. So I would say if you're riding, for a full day and your feet are hurting inside your boots, it's probably a fit issue. I don't think it's necessarily, and I know this is an issue that a lot of guys have with motocross boots that have wide feet and wide calves. But I think I just read something about the new City Crossfires, that's one of the things they've changed about the new model, is that it accommodates much wider calves. So that might be something to check out.
The Garnet, or I don't know how do you pronounce it. They make wider toe boots, toe boxes.
So I would say, that's probably a fitment issue. Yeah, here's someone else. Gateway Drone Sport has said boots for wide feet, Gairn, if that's how you pronounce it. I think when it comes to Gairn, Klim, Climb, and this, we should all just agree on a pronunciation and stick with it. Mark's injury made me gag and hug my knee braces. Yeah, Mark's knee injury was pretty unpleasant. All right, guys, I think we can actually wrap up at an hour and a half. Any closing thoughts, boys, on gear in general? And keeping in mind that I think we'll have another day where we'll talk about bags, pouches, saddlebags, all that good stuff. But
I think I do have a comment on gear. Aside from certain items like knee braces and boots, I'm less and less inclined now to buy the most expensive stuff, because the most expensive stuff is the one who's gonna let you down the most. Like, for example, these beautiful gloves that I paid $350 for.
Ouch.
They're awesome, but the liner comes out all the time.
Yeah.
So I never use them.
No, that's
While if you buy something that's like $10, if they don't work, you throw them in the garbage and you buy another one. So the same thing for my Climb suit. $1,800 or however much I paid. I'll never do that again, ever. Just buy the expensive stuff. It's just marketing crap.
Yeah,
that's my take on it anyway.
Ivan, we know you're a cheap bastard. You agree?
Yeah, when you can get a deal on something, do that. Buy the best gear you can afford, and like Jason said, it's not necessarily the most expensive. like I say, like the Climb I have, the Dakar series is actually, I think, their cheapest line of gear that they have. And it's a bit bulkier and all that and heavier, but it's super robust. That's why one of the reasons why I like it a lot.
Mhm.
But get a good helmet for sure. That's not easy, just finding what you like, a modular or an adventure helmet or a road helmet, whatever. But get a good helmet, decent helmet for sure. After that, it depends on what you're riding. If you're commuting more and then occasionally going off road, maybe don't have to go with the body armor and all that, and the D3O type pads within an adventure jacket or whatever type deal will do very well. I've used that for a couple of years and I still like it. I use it more in the fall and the spring because it's warmer. And if you're doing any off-roading, motocross boots, because adventure boots, they just won't survive long enough, and it's not enough protection in my mind for yourself. And like all of us, our injuries, they've all been slow speed, stupid stuff that we've fallen many times before, and it's always been the lower part of the body mostly. So knees,
Yeah.
ankles, foot.
Yeah, and I think what you're going to find is, as time goes on, I don't think there's anyone who's been riding for 10 years that just has one pair of gloves and one outfit. You're going to tend to accumulate a bunch of stuff. Maybe at the beginning, you're going to have to go out and spend some money and buy something. But I think Dave's got 2 or 3 jackets. I've got a couple. Ivan, you were mentioning you've got a bunch of different setups. The same thing, Jason, you've got your Climb outfit, but you've also got your motocross stuff with a pressure suit. So I think you're going to end up with a bunch of stuff because it's kind of the same dual sport dilemma. Everything is a compromise. If you want to get on the road and drive in the pouring rain for 10 hours and stay bone dry and warm when it's 5 degrees, that outfit is going to suck on a 30-degree day on the trails where you're pulling someone up a hill with the douche rope. So you're going to have to, pick your poisons. Like someone here, Ruka too, that's a name. You don't see a lot of it on the off-road scene, but the on-road scene with the BMW suits, which work well, even Aerostitch, Ruka, a lot of that stuff works well on the street. And what I've seen is like the Classique 2015, we have that video where JP showed up and I think Dave, and they were wearing like those full head to toe suits and they just died because everything was low speed, muddy, sloggy, super effort, and you're wearing a garbage bag. I don't care if it's super Gore-Tex, it's still basically you're sealed up in a bag.
Yeah, I've been. This year is the first, I guess, the year that I have pretty much everything in doubled up. I got 2 pair of boots now, the jerseys, 2 jackets, and 2 pairs of pants. So that is the most fantastic part. Is it was first of it. It's out of jealousy over Jason and Pat, my friends that have been events, and where we come to the midday and they've changed out of their wet, gooey clothes and then restarted in nice and dry and all that. I was like, fuck, I had to go back out into my wet, miserable gear while these guys were nice and dry. So that's one reason also. And now I have 2 pairs of pants and a second jacket, so at least they can switch over at some of these events, which is
like
really
this
fun.
Year, over the winter, I bought nothing kind of gear-wise. I didn't buy anything because I've kind of figured out what works for me. And when we go up to the Fundy or something where we're going to be there for multiple days, I bring multiple pairs of pants, multiple things, so that you can change when they get disgusting or wet or whatever. So, someone's saying, don't you drive anymore? I'm not sure, Roger, what that means. Or don't you ride anymore? We're not riding these days because of the kind of lockdown where it's being a little bit frowned upon to just kind of go out and drive around for no reason. So we're waiting for this pandemic stuff to wrap up. The province here is slowly opening they've opened up garages and a few other businesses. The construction business is back rolling, so we're probably weeks away, maybe, from things getting a little more back to normal. So I'm hoping the season's not going to be a total write-off. We've already canceled, the Eastern. Well, I guess the Ottawa Valley Rally was canceled. The Classique was canceled. The Moto Trail Aventure Spring Refresher was canceled.
Yeah.
Is Eeyore, was that canceled, or is that?
Don't know.
Or was that on this year? So I mean, tons of things canceled up until June, whatever. So we're still hopeful for. I like to go to the Calabogie Boogie in September. We were planning on going up to New Brunswick in September. Oh, Jason just died. Luckily, we had the backup split screen. Yeah, he might have run out of battery. I'm not sure if he was running on battery. So I guess if people's batteries are dying, that's a sign that we should wrap it up. So for all of us here at the Awesome Players, thanks for joining us. If you head over to awesomeplayers.com, you can buy some of our stickers and patches. We have the sewn-on patches now, which are quite nice. You can order them at awesomeplayers.com. If you head over to Facebook, Facebook is not the greatest place to watch our live streaming events, but nice thing with Facebook is if you have a picture or a video or something you want to share with us, Facebook is the best place. And if you're watching this, you probably are a subscriber, but if you're not a subscriber, click down there, hit that subscribe button, and hit the alarm bell, because if you're a subscriber and you haven't hit the alarm bell, you won't get notified when something new is coming down the pipe. Yeah, so someone here, Jimmy, just mentioned the roaming rally postponed until September. So, yeah, kind of a crappy season. Hey, Vlast, see you later as well. So for all of us here at the Awesome Players Off-Road Motorcycle Club, have a good one. Ciao.
Take care.